COVID cases are continuing to plummet with a further 38,933 new infections announced today. Deaths have also gone down by 30% in 1 week, with 125 more losing their lives after testing positive for coronavirus. Last Thursday, 183 deaths were recorded with 51,899 cases announced. In Scotland, there were 16 deaths reported today, with 2 in Northern Ireland and 8 in Wales. England saw 99 COVID deaths, with 28,193 cases announced, down nearly 12,000 from 7 days ago. The number of people in the UK to tragically lose their lives to the virus now totals 161,104. It comes as all remaining legal COVID restrictions have been removed in England, almost 2 years after the first rules were first introduced. Today marks the end of self-isolation demands that have been in place since March 2020. Image: Getty Images. Mandatory self-isolation will be axed from today for people who test positive, although they are still advised to do so by the government. The changes form part of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Living with COVID plan, in which he aims to transition the country back to normality. The £500 isolation payments and Day 1 sick pay will go, and free tests will be shelved from April 1 with a 72-hour limit already in place to stop stockpiling. COVID rules that will remain in place from today as legal self-isolation is scrapped. All the COVID rule changes coming in today as isolation scrapped in England. Critics have rounded on the PM, saying the plan fails to protect the most vulnerable. Despite scrapping legal isolation, Number 10 earlier said, "We're not saying isolation is pointless. We'd expect anyone with an infectious disease to take steps not to spread that disease further, a colleague at work with flu, for example." The changes are part of the Boris Johnson's Living with COVID plan, to transition back to normality. Image: AFP via Getty Images. Most read: Vladimir Putin appears to threaten nuclear attack against West in chilling TV address. Russian forces seized Chernobyl nuclear power plant after battle with Ukraine forces. I am so embarrassed by what my dad named our dog. Walks in the park are very awkward. From today, the government will no longer ask vaccinated or child contacts of COVID cases in England to test themselves for 7 days. But NHS leaders have slammed the PM's decision to do away with self-isolation rules and free COVID tests for the public. According to a survey of NHS leaders, 79% strongly disagreed with the plan to stop free access to COVID-19 tests for the public. More than 300 senior staff in England took part in the survey. Cases and deaths have been falling in recent weeks. Image: PA. Around 94% also believe testing for health staff and other key workers must also continue. Matthew Taylor, chief executive of the NHS Confederation, said, "Hospital admissions and deaths linked to coronavirus continue to fall nationally, and this is allowing the NHS to bring back many routine services that it was asked to deprioritize during the peaks of the pandemic, including some non-urgent elective. With the success of the vaccine and new COVID treatments, this offers real hope as we learn to live with the virus." But NHS leaders have hit out at the PM's decision to scrap self-isolation rules. Image: Getty Images. Blend images. Don't miss: Joseph Wandera dead. Former Coronation Street actor dies age 27 following a seizure. Queen shares favorite TV show, and she liked it so much she can even recite one-liners. Russia-Ukraine war live. 57 dead as missiles rain down and troops capture Chernobyl. COVID rules that will remain in place from today as legal self-isolation is scrapped. But the government cannot wave a magic wand and pretend the threat has disappeared entirely. So much is uncertain still, including our long-term immunity and the emergence of future strains, which requires a solid testing infrastructure and clear guidance around self-isolation to remain in place. A lot is at stake for the NHS's recovery ambitions if the government is too gung-ho in its plans for exiting the pandemic, which is why health leaders are calling for a cautious and evidence-led approach. This must not be driven by political expediency. Read more. Boris Johnson will address nation today on Ukraine and give 5 p.m. statement to Parliament. Read more. Queen holds weekly call with PM as she battles on despite COVID infection.